in the state of Utah. We started about 2020. We deliver statewide, and yeah, that's what I do.
And what do you need?
Yeah, we need people to have the conversation about cannabis in their workplace. And one thing, I was campaign manager for Prop 2, so I helped legalize the movement here. I think it's a big part. The tech industry has adopted cannabis. A lot of the members, a lot of people use it for mental health, for relaxation, lots of different use cases. But what I need is for people just to be open about it. It can be used responsibly and healthy, and yeah,
Good.
come talk to me if you have any questions.
Yeah, well, we'll get back to some questions in just a minute. Why doesn't your colleague here? Who are you, and what do you do, and what do you need?
So my name is Juelan. I'm the community engagement manager for Wholesome Co. I've been with the company now for just over a year and a half, and I really help to bring the brand into just different communities that might not already be like thinking about medical cannabis, that might have an overlap. That's part of the reason why we're out here, is to see, to start some conversations with these companies, to kind of get where their stance is on medical cannabis, and just realize that it's something that can be a viable option for their employees, and maybe they should even explore providing that service to their employees, as a potential benefit, as a part of the work culture. A lot of their statistics out there, a lot of tech employees are consuming cannabis, and so if they're doing that in a state that has a legal program, they might as well go ahead and get legal, so there's no risk of getting arrested or anything like that, and so we're just trying to see what the needs are, in this community.
Super. And our third colleague today is part of a nonprofit. Why don't you introduce that for us?
So my name's Dane Hoffman. I founded Utah Cannabis Agent Training. It's a third-party compliance training for the state of Utah. So anybody working at a cultivation facility or processing facility, they can take an internal training program. But if they don't already know somebody that operates at these levels and they want to enter the industry, I provide that certification standard. So that brought me into working with Utah Can, and ultimately just trying to lower the barrier to entry, to have that conversation so that we can start bringing cannabis into a little bit more mainstream. People want to say, go ahead and take a Tylenol. Why can't they say, go ahead and take whatever medication it is that you need? Right, so this ability to really engage cannabis and technology together, because it's already in the culture. The difference is it in the culture out front, or is it happening behind closed doors and in the shadows? So that's one of the things that we're wanting to do, and that Utah actually does very well, is this idea to bring a legitimacy to the cannabis program. People always thought Utah would be one of the last states to kind of fall over in this domino effect, but the reality is that Utah's actually paving the way in a lot of things. Wholesome Co. especially, with that idea of being able to provide one of the 13th most rural states in Utah with home delivery cannabis.
Right.
I mean, the ability, the logistical efforts that need to go into something like that is pretty astounding, and so I can only imagine that it doesn't happen by just pushing harder. It happens by being smart and utilizing a sense of technology.
Yeah, so we're having a conversation on cannabis, and these three gentlemen have introduced themselves, and the three questions are, who are you, what do you do, and what do you need? So we're going to let you introduce yourself.
With Alex? Okay.
There's a little height thing going on. There's the shadows and stuff.
Right. So I'm Cindy Mon, and I'm the founder of First Nation Sourcing, which is specifically geared towards teaching cannabis to Native nations. So as for ingestibles, kind of old news. I'm actually more interested in the hemp industries that we could bring manufacturing and STEM jobs. So every one of those manufacturers going to need a mechanical engineer, software engineer, electrical engineer. I mean, there's a lot to get done. So currently I'm working with a company that's looking to bring fiber reinforced rebar. And I personally have been working on DOT approved hempcrete. So there's a lot of different products that can come from the stem and the other parts of the plant besides the flower that everyone seems interested in right now. So, but I'm here to again move that industry forward and start working with rural and tribal leaders to bring manufacturing facilities to their area.
Cool. Well, so let's back up real quick because you talked about Prop 2, and I will just say that 15 months ago, I could not have conducted a conversation about cannabis, okay? But in the last 15 months, I've tried to come up to speed on it. But I think a lot of folks don't really understand where we've gone in Utah in the last 4 years. So just briefly say what Prop 2 is and how it authorized medical cannabis dispensaries in all 29 counties, and kind of where are we on that glide path towards having 29 counties with medical dispensaries.
So it was a big effort with a lot of people. We started in about 2016 a group called the Utah Patients Coalition, which is still thriving with Des Hennessy. She's running that. But Prop 2 was a ballot on the 2018 ballot. It was an initiative on the 2018 ballot that voters in Utah got to decide, did they want to legalize medical cannabis. They voted yes. It was a long campaign with a lot of ups and downs, but ultimately people thought for medical purposes cannabis should be allowed, and I'm very grateful to the voters. It was a big part of my life, and then I was fortunate enough to be involved with a group to now serve the patients here in Utah, and it's been an incredible journey, but it's so nice to see people embracing alternative styles of healthcare, medicine, lifestyles. I think people need to be more open-minded to trying new things if what you're using isn't working. And Prop 2 was the start of that discussion, and now we're all part of the industry helping to normalize cannabis use.
Yep. And so a lot of folks don't know, but if you want to participate in medical cannabis, you have to have your doctor give you a medical cannabis card. Why don't you just explain, because you were talking about how it could come into a company. If it's going to come into a company, you at least have to have probably a doctor representing the company who can have meetings with all the people that think that they have a need and or desire for medical cannabis. Why don't you explain the process of getting a card?
Exactly. So there's a couple of different ways that you can go about getting your card, but it all starts with first having a qualifying condition. So in Utah, there's a list of just over a dozen specific conditions that you must have in order to get your card. Chronic pain is one of those, and it's by far one of the most commonly diagnosed because pain comes from all different sources and so many different ways. And so once you've identified that you do have a qualifying condition and you would qualify to enter the program, you need to find a provider. So you can either go to a qualified medical provider, which is any MD, DO, APRN, etc., that has taken the state-approved testing and paid a fee in order to get that license to recommend cannabis. It's a recommendation, not a prescription. That's a very important distinction because if doctors were to prescribe a federally legal substance, that could jeopardize their license. The other way that you can get a card is going to your primary care provider. This is a new option that the state uplifted this year, where they allow for this what's called the limited medical provider program. So now any doctor, MD, DO, etc., that has a controlled substance license can issue up to 15 medical cannabis recommendations without having to do this state testing, get the certification, pay a fee. And so what that means is that you can go, like anyone in Utah can go to their primary care provider, and that primary care provider legally is allowed to issue a cannabis recommendation.
For up to 15 patients.
For up to 15 patients,
Yep. Okay.
And so, we kind of want to help these tech companies is if they do want to make, cannabis use part of their culture and make it accept, promote that and accept that. And also, I think, since it is still a relatively new thing, to have a very open stance on that can give a lot of these companies a competitive advantage. And so we would really love to help to partner with these companies. We have networks of QMPs all across the state. We can work, we can bring them these to your headquarters, just like you do with any other kind of service that you're providing to your employees, whether that's any other healthcare service, massage, etc. This could just be another component of that package that you offer, and to get them to stay. And also, you want your employees, if they're already using it, to be a legal user. Your employees are your most valuable asset. If they're already using that, then why don't you just go ahead and take the extra step to make sure they're legal and using it in a safe way and within the legal framework.
So for the last 6 years or so here at Silicon Slopes, I think there's been a lot of discussion about mental health, mental wellness. It's no longer kind of a backroom conversation. Everybody's talking about it. So this obviously can be a component of the mental wellness program as long as you're doing it legally. So the other topic that we're talking a lot about is getting into STEM fields, and we're beginning to understand kind of the medical cannabis piece. But tell us about the cannabis industry as a STEM field, and why might somebody choose this as a career pathway?
Well, I mean, just like anything else, it's an industry that provides, one, a sense of purpose and a sense of belonging, which is ultimately what anybody's looking for. And so if you're an accountant even looking to provide something maybe a little bit more and have that connection to your job, and you're a cannabis advocate, why not work in the cannabis space? There's plenty of room for anybody with an existing skill set to work within this field. Right now, there's actually a good shortage of highly skilled positions within the industry, and one of the things that people are starting to see more of is people coming from an existing industry and applying that to the cannabis space. Like Cindy was saying, there needs to be electrical engineers as well as, plumbers. There's no shortage of hands-on hard skill that needs to be in the cannabis space, and then plenty of soft skills, or maybe the more cerebral forms of coding, or even just management, really.
And what does it take to get a certification? Because I've been to a couple of dispensaries on visitation tours. I've been to a processing facility in South Salt Lake. Highly regulated. I had to be met at the door by somebody that's got the appropriate card. So give us just a sense of what it takes to get a certification to work in the industry.
So one of the things that my company is able to do is to provide a third-party certification for that. So anybody wanting to get into this space can have a little bit of a leg up when they're moving in to get that application or have that interview. They can say, hey, I'm already certified and able to just step into the workspace and start working right away. Like you pointed out, that you had to be escorted throughout the facility. The only people that are allowed to walk through these facilities are employees registered with the state of Utah.
Can I barge in?
Please.
Because we just have a couple of minutes. Can I get in the middle of you here?
Yeah, please do.
We are at Silicon Slopes Summit 2022. We have had a chapter on the Silicon Slopes website for 3 years. We, Utah Cannabis, those that are curious of cannabis, in the cannabis business, and cannabis users, medical, recreational, or whatever, need to utilize this place for a collective lobby. Dane Hoffman is going to be your guide to be able to do that. I recommend anyone watching this that's interested in hemp, cannabis, anything that comes from the plant, and any way that it's used, to join this group. It costs you nothing. We'll tell you when things are going on. We'll use it as the same type of advocacy as Pando Labs has done for Summit County. That's all I ask. It's easy. SiliconSlopes.com, registered user, find the chapters, find Utah Cannabis, join that. We won't spam you. We'll let you know there it's events. We'll let you know people that can help you, and it's what we do. And if you're interested in that, do it. You have an amazing resource base here. Okay, you've got a minute to wrap, Ted.
Well, I think in the final minute, we'll just give everybody 10 seconds just to have their closing thoughts. So starting over here, 10 seconds that captures what you feel about the industry.
10 seconds. So I would highly encourage everyone to really look at the different industries that they can participate in when it comes to cannabis manufacturing, and like the other STEM jobs that we had already mentioned. There is so much coming in Utah State that we have a lot going on. So
real quick?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Joel. He's been such an incredible advocate for our industry, for our community. Had us on. We've known each other for a few years now. Utah Can's been such a great association. And the City Weekly, absolutely. They've been so good for us. And the industry is very, we're very supportive of each other. You know, Beehive Pharmacy, Dragonfly, like these are, you know, other medical cannabis pharmacies that sell as well as Wholesome Co. But we really just want people to adopt it and to start talking about it and accepting it. So that's what I have to say.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you again for having us out here, giving us a platform to talk about cannabis in this space. And definitely, if you have any more questions about just medical cannabis in general, check out our website. It's wholesome.co. And thank you.
And you deliver border to border.
We deliver in the entirety of the state.
Hundreds of orders a day.
Yeah. And so, thank you guys.
Finish it up, Mr.
Just don't be afraid to ask. You know, somebody in cannabis is more than willing to have that conversation. So, you know, the more you know, the more you know.
We're going to maintain the TED Talk area that we have here. Am I on 2 mics, or do you need me to move out?
Compress, please. And you're going to have a better shot if it kind of comes this way. All right. Are we ready? Can you hear me? I want to know if there's anyone in this room that could live without clean water. I want to know if there's anyone in the sea that could live without clean water.
All right, so here we are at Silicon Slopes 2022, and we're hanging out at the Vivint Smart Home Arena. And we've got 4 members of the Hydrenesis team that are going to tell you a little bit about why they've joined the team and what their role is and how they're bringing clean water to everybody. So why don't we start over here with the founder and work our way back, and please just introduce who are you, what do you do, and what do you need?
Well, I'm David Antella. I'm the CEO of Hydrenesis